dumplings. And now we're going to do the ravioli dough. We're going to start with pasta flour. This is one that I just got at the local grocery store. We're going to have 2 1/3 cup of that flour into the mixer. A half a teaspoon of salt. We're going to add to that. We're going to add 2 eggs that we've lightly beaten. We're going to add a teaspoon of olive oil, which I left on the other side of the room. And we're also going to put in there 2/3 cup of warm water. So there's 1/3 and 2/3. We're going to lift this up and get it started. We'll start low so it doesn't get us. This looks about like where we're going to have it. So we're going to turn it off and drop it down. And it's a pretty stiff dough. You know, it didn't look like it because of the machine, but it's a pretty stiff dough. And we may have to add some more flour to it. I'm going to just continue kneading this and adding some more flour if I need to. Now this flour is going to continue to absorb more water, so what we're going to do is put this into the mixer with the dough hook. If you were doing this by hand, this could take up to about 10 minutes to get this going. And I'm just going to put this on low and let it go for a few minutes. Alright, our dough's been mixing probably for about 5 minutes, and it feels pretty good. I think the gluten's definitely started to come through. What we're going to do is now put it in some cling film and let it set in the refrigerator for about an hour because it needs to rest. Alright, so we'll come back to this in about an hour. We're back, and the first thing we're going to do is start with a good floured board here. Because this dough that I made, actually I made it last night, this is the next day. We had to wait until today because we got tired and went to bed. Here's the dough that I did last night. It's been packaged, it's been sitting overnight. And we also have the marsala filling that we made last night as well, so it's nice and chilled. I have my pasta press rollers here that are come with my KitchenAid. It also has 2 other ones. This one is to roll out the pasta. It also has this one, which is a fettuccine one. You can see they're kind of thick. And the other one that it came with is the spaghetti one. You can see they're little teeny in there. And they also have little grooves in them, so whenever you make the spaghetti the right thickness, it actually shapes them into the round, so that it looks just like real spaghetti that you get in the grocery store. So the first thing that we're going to do is get some of our dough out, and we're just going to work with a little piece of it to start with because I'm only going to make a few, so that way you guys can see them, because if I made them all it would take me a while. So this is kind of cold, cause like I said, it just came out of the refrigerator, so I'm going to work it up a little bit and kind of shape it into just like a sort of rectangle, but we're going to want it a little bit thin on the edge so it'll feed in, and with a little flour on it. Like I said earlier, this dough was a little wet last night when we started. It still is today, but I had a few practice runs, so it is working, but yours could be a little bit drier. I'm going to start with this on the largest setting, which is 1, and I'm going to feed it through the first time. And it doesn't always come out smooth when you first go through. Sometimes it comes out crazy and all messed up, and that's okay. And this dough had a good chance to rest, so it really is coming out really nice. It doesn't always happen that way. And we're going to go ahead and scoop this up a little more. little more flour on it here. And we're going to send it through. And speed up my mixer a little bit. Send that through. And if your pasta is dry enough, you don't need to put all this flour on it. This one, like I said earlier, is not dry enough. So I don't want it to stick to itself and everything else. Let's send it through again. And as you can see, it gets progressively longer and longer and longer and goes in the sink and all that other kind of stuff. So we've got our piece here, pretty good size. I'm just going to fold it over and cut it in half with a pizza cutter because I know about the length I want it to be. And then I'm going to pull it back apart. And right where that cut was, I'm going to cut it again so I can have two nice sheets of dough here. Alright, and now, and we can just save this and use it again in a little while. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in, I like mine kind of large, so I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of a tablespoon of the mixture. Oops. And you might want to, you practice a few times until you get it right. The best thing about the dough is you can keep using it until you get it right. You want to leave a little bit of space in between. I'm just going to wet my fingers to do this with. And I'm just going to go in between each one and wet the dough so it will stick together. You could, of course, use a pastry brush, which is probably the best way. Towel. And then I'm just going to fold this over. And I'm going to kind of squish that far side first. Then I'm going to press in between. And you want to kind of press as much air out as you can, otherwise they'll get kind of round and they'll blow up like little balloons. Now, one thing I wanted to have today, but I didn't, and just kind of pressing down, was I was trying to find some ravioli trays so that way it wouldn't look like this, obviously. It would look a lot better, but I couldn't find any. I searched everywhere in the town that I live in and no luck. So I was going to use just a biscuit cutter, and I'm just going to cut around the edges. Now, if you're just cooking for yourself or your family and you don't care, cut them into big giant squares. Nobody will know it, It's not necessarily what it looks like in these. Alright. So we'll pull those out. And they don't look too bad, not really. Let's see. We'll just press them with our fingers. And these are sealed pretty good. Alright, we're going to let these sit here for a few minutes. I'm only going to start with 4. We're going to let these sit for just a few minutes while we go over and start making the sauce that's going to go on them.